Good evening, fellow Reds. Welcome. I don't even know what day it is. What is it? Tuesday, Wednesday? It's Wednesday, isn't it? This is what happens when Tuesday. There you go. It's like this is what happens when International Week ruins all of Liverpool fans' lives at the moment. You know, all we want to do is we want to see Liverpool play. We want to talk about Liverpool playing. But here we are. We've got a Tuesday night discussion. There's a few things I would like to discuss, but I'm joined by Race. How are you, Race?
Good. As I was saying, it's a good time to be a Liverpool fan. Everything seems to be on and off the pitch. You know, get referees suspended. We're playing well. It's just all good right now.
Everybody's scared of us. That's what it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Patricio, we haven't been on the stream before, so I'm really, really happy that we finally got the opportunity to talk properly. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Yeah, nice to meet you. I've been on a race before, but yeah, no, it's been good. I do want international break to be over. Can't wait till it's over and get back to the footy so we can batter Southampton and carry on 5 points ahead, clear. So hopefully even more, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's such a crunch time, isn't it, for Liverpool, for Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, whoever you want to talk about. The next couple of games, once we do get back into proper football, it's going to be massive. But you know, unfortunately, we have to talk about other things for now until that glorious time comes back. So there's a few things that's been banded around, and this first one, I thought let's start with something a little bit lighthearted. It's a hilarious article. I don't know if you want to call it that, but from the Mundo Deportivo, Barcelona supposedly want to sign a star player next summer, and Mohamed Salah is one of their options. The other options are Nico Williams, Rafa, Leao, and Leroy Sane. So lads, let's just bring up this one. You know, Barca can't afford bootlaces, let alone Mo's haircut trimmings. I mean, he's got a good hair now, isn't he? Since he's had the little trip abroad wherever he went, Turkey or something. But he's looking sharp these days. But yeah, what a laughable. They wouldn't be able to even afford him. We can talk about it. But Race, is there anything that we take from this silly article?
No. Salah is definitely not going to Barcelona. As you mentioned, like, you know, their financial situation, I don't think is the best, and I think that's kind of a laughable thing. Although, you know, Salah didn't sign his contract, so possibly leaving on free. But no, that's I don't read much into it. I think the only thing that's piece of truth that might be in that is them going after Nico Williams, just because there was interest in the summer, and you have him and Yamal as Spanish teammates. Of course, they played so well in the Euros. I think that's ultimately their end game, their end goal with their situation up top. But it's always this time of this time of the season where, or this point where it's just nothing to talk about, and so these rumors kind of pop up, and so we know Salah is loyal to us and loyal to the club, and he's having a fantastic season so far. I mean, he's already at double-digit goals and assists for the season. I think it's I don't think we can we know how great he is, and it's just every year is just continues to produce. It continues to, and it just hasn't seemed like it's coming. I think we all sometimes with Salah, like we think back to his first season when he scored the 40+ goals, like him dominating games. This year, I don't feel like he's really like dominating or he's just, every time he gets the ball, he's so damn sharp with it. He knows what exactly to do. He makes the right decision. It's just like so efficient in what he does. And like it doesn't seem like he ever puts a wrong foot in. I mean, he had the bad spell of form at the end of last season, but other than that, he's just been phenomenal. I think, he's honestly priceless, not just with his ability, but his availability as well. Again, we can talk about the contract, for days on end, but he's just an incredible player, and he ain't going anywhere. I can guarantee that for now.
Yeah, good words there, Race. Yeah, Patricio. I mean, if anyone were, you'd look at maybe not Real Madrid, but the other team in Spain, and I think looking at the way that Real Madrid are set up, and I'm not trying to kind of put things in place, but if anyone were to go for Mohamed Salah because of the situation that they're currently in with all the players that they have on the left side, they need someone actually on the right side, don't they? Okay, they've got Gula and Rodrigo can play there, but Salah, if anyone, he's at the very, very top of the game. One of the greatest ever in the Premier League history, in European football. If anyone's going to be going in for it, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they're below certainly some of the teams now in the Premier League. So why would you even think about going there?
Yeah, no, it makes me laugh. Like we've seen links recently, the fact that just to boost up money for next season, Barca were willing to maybe let Lamal go. But obviously, I don't know if I believe that at all. So then why would they go in for Salah if that's the case then? As well as I thought Salah would be more likely to go towards Saudi, like stay with us if his contract is extended, then go off to Saudi, potentially. That I've never seen him going off to La Liga, to be honest. So to even see it come up, I just brushed it away straight away. Didn't even think about it, to be fair. And the only one I could potentially see going there, had they have enough money at Barca, then they would go for Nico Williams. That's the only one I can see realistically happening if they were to have enough for him. So, yeah, the Salah shout, I don't see it going anywhere, to be honest. I see him staying there at Liverpool for at least another 2 seasons, maybe 3. Yeah.
I would love it. I would love that. I think, okay, maybe he's lost a little bit of pace, but what we saw on Saturday, just coming back to the game that we saw on Saturday, he outpaced Leon Bailey for that first goal, didn't he? That second goal, he was quick. He was like no one's going to catch him. So maybe there's a little bit of deception, maybe a little bit of wrong understanding about what's actually happening with Mo. Maybe there's the ability to go around a player has possibly gone. But for when he gets his racing boots on, he's quick as anyone still out there, surely. But I was dead amazed about how quick he was for that first goal, and it was only because he just got caught up and coot with a atrocious call. I don't know what he was. Well, we know what he's thinking now these days. But yeah, just a bit mad in terms of Mo. Let's kind of stick with it because we've got lots of time to talk about it. Because I haven't spoken to you guys about the contract situation with Mo. What's your ideas, Patricia, about the contract? You've laid it already out. You would love to see 2 years, maybe 3 years for Mo. Is that the right way? Are you concerned about his age?
Potentially, I can see what you mean. He is decreasing. We have seen a little dip in form last season. He has picked up a little bit in slot system, but like you said, he's not getting round plays. He's not pacing round them, but he still has the fitness and has the technical ability, especially with the finishing ability to keep it going. He's obviously surpassed Robbie Fowler now in goals. He's still going to break more records and stuff. He's always wanted to break more. And even if it isn't 3 seasons, 1 or 2, to be fair, as long as we make the smart decision and not let him go on a free, that's the problem. Then we've let too many players in the past go on a free when we could have had could have quite a lot of money for Salah, to be fair. But it also depends on what he wants to do. And obviously, things from what I've read, he seems pretty happy with the club. So I don't see why 1 or 2 more seasons couldn't benefit him a little bit more. He can still help us out. Maybe he starts rotating out towards the latter years, maybe in the second year or however long he may stay potentially, and we start introducing someone fresh for the right wing. Obviously, he knows it himself. He's not in denial about it. He knows that over time he's not as amazing as he used to be a few seasons ago. He's not Mo from 2019, 2018. So he'll know that in his mind and know that we're going to need to get someone else in. Obviously, we've got Chiesa in. Things are ongoing there. Haven't really seen him do a lot, to be fair, but there will be a successor to Mo, and he might not be as incredible or anywhere near as good as Mo, but yeah, so far we just know that he isn't as he used to be. So I think definitely 2 seasons, maybe at most now. Now that I thought about it a bit more, just don't let him go to free. So that's my thoughts. To be fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult trying to think about who could replace Mo. Chiesa was one. I still have high hopes for Fede Chiesa in a Liverpool shirt. It may be a case that it comes good in the second half of the season once he gets acclimatized, once the body actually gets used to the physicality, to the way that Slot plays as well, because it is still very demanding. Yeah, okay, we're a little bit more controlled and measured in our approach to games, but in all, it should see him come through second half of the season. But Race, I'm going to stick about the Mo situation and the contract, and what are your thoughts? What would you do? Do you agree with Patricio? 1 to maybe 3 years.
I'm thinking, it'll be 2 years is just kind of my gut feeling. I think, I mean, he's at the point of his career where, you're not going to be getting these long-term, contract extensions. It's almost to the benefit of himself to kind of go year by year and say, just kind of do some short-term stuff. Also, too, the probably why he didn't re-up this past summer recently is because of Klopp leaving and just kind of wanting to make sure that everything at the club is still in place and stable and all that. And so, I mean, if we continue to have the season we're having and we're, in the mix for all these trophies and such, like I see no reason why he wouldn't want to stay. I mean, but it's just based on how he's been playing. I think it's a pretty easy decision for himself because, like, again, where else is he going to go? The Saudi Arabia stuff. I think that's that's like when he's really kind of done as a player. I think for a real money move. Like he's obviously still has lots left in the tank. The goals and assists. Like that's like that's like an accepting of, okay, my time as a serious footballer is done. I'm going to go here, collect a paycheck, and retire. He is still very much, and he's a very ambitious player too. Like he is such a ultimate professional. Like that's not the type of player he is. That's years down the road where he's going to make that move. But for now, he's going to continue to be in the mix for these big time trophies and such. So I could see a 2-year deal. I think 1-year deal would just be, I think it'd be kind of pointless, to be honest. Like it'd just be like, if you're going to stay for another year and we just had a great season, why not do another year? 3 years maybe is a little, as the club, then you do kind of consider like, okay, is that third year going to be like the year where, is he really going to start to dip in his, athletically and as a player, where, that's maybe 2 or 3 years, I think is the right move to make. A year would just be a little, be pointless. He'd only be, 33 years old going to next season. So I think you could do a couple more years. And we've seen players, that the truly great players, I mean, can really play, into their mid 30s and possibly late 30s for some. So, and Salah, I think, is one of those players. So it'll definitely be a short-term thing. I hope it gets done. I can honestly see it going till next summer, but like, it'll be one of those things where if we have, like, say we win the Premier League, I don't think there'll be any question he will resign. It's like, hey, we won the league. It's a long season, but he'll be back. He'll sign that contract at some point. Obviously, that'll make us as fans a little nervous, but I would still be confident if like we would win a trophy or something, he would come back. Again, why would you unless that would be his time to exit and go to Saudi Arabia. Okay, hey guys, I won the Premier League again. I've had this great season. Now I'm going to go do that. Then so be it, But I certainly hope he sticks around for a little bit. I'd like to see him, win one more, one more major trophy with us, either the Champions League or the Premier League. I think that's I think that's a goal for maybe himself or whatever that may be. And hey, even if he continues to have the season he's having, I mean, next year you look at that Ballon d'Or, maybe that's in play. Maybe that's something he wants to consider, and that's obviously, the calendar for that is a little different, but still maybe that's in play. So, yeah, I think he's, like I said, he's a very, he's a great professional. And so he's not one to just, be, kind of have a bad attitude about things, ask for a move away or stuff like that. I think he'll take this as far as he needs to go before ultimately making the right decision for himself.
Yeah, there's so many things to consider, isn't there? I mean, in terms of his numbers, 10 and 10, so 10 goals, 10 assists, and the first player to do it this quickly in a season in all of history, footballing history. So that's a monumental achievement for someone people consider, a one-season wonder or a 5-6 year wonder. Who knows what Mo could do later on in the footballing the season itself, but. Yeah, I mean, you got me thinking there, Race, with that point about will Mo wait as long as possible to decide whether he's going to stay or go? Now, I'm thinking about last season, and up till April, we were pretty much in for the quad. We've already won the EFL Cup, and we were in the lead, or certainly in the top 2, top 3, very very close to the top in regards to the league. We're still in the Champions League. The FA Cup was going really well, but then we obviously lost our way with that FA Cup loss against United.
Europa League too, by the way.
Europa League, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Europa League, that's it. And Atalanta, yeah. Oh, my neck, you just reminded me. So, do you think there's a little bit of aftertaste, Race? I'll stick with you about what happened last season to what's actually may dictate to Mo what he wants to do in the summer, and to Trent and to Virgil and to anyone else, maybe Allison, who knows?
Yeah, you make a good point. Like I said, we had a good season last year up until kind of things fell apart and we just kind of ran out of gas and fell out of those competitions. So it's easy for us to say like, hey, everything's in a good spot with this club. We have a new manager. We're playing as well as any team in the world is right now, and you're having a great individual season. So what's the holdup? Why? What are you waiting around for? But obviously, everything seems nice with the club right now. But once we get into these, especially in December when fixtures tighten up, and things could certainly turn sideways and whatnot. But it's the thing with contracts is it's a waiting game. We as fans have no idea what's coming. No idea what's in the heads of players, the front office, the coaching staff, everything. All we can do is just look at how everything's going on around the club and the results and everything, and just try to make an argument for why a player shouldn't, re-sign a contract or cement their future with the club. It truly is. It's a waiting game. You just hope that the results continue to be positive and the player keeps playing well and there's no fitness issues or anything like that, and it all makes sense at the end of the season to re-sign the player to probably a short-term deal.
And there's not been any indication, Patricia, around Mo's attitude towards the club. He said on at least a couple of times, and maybe a bit of PR because he does it after a good performance, where he scored a goal, winning goal, or the performance has been really, really good, where he's come out and says to the fans, I want to stay, I love the club, it's up to the club to decide what they want to do. And he said that certainly after the United game and then on Twitter the other day. But, there's no doubt he could earn more money in Saudi, potentially have more lucrative deals abroad in MLS, with more commercial contracts out there. There's certainly more money out there for him if he ever wanted it. So for the fans, for yourself, there's just no reason why he would leave other than the club haven't met his demands or met it closely enough for there to be a good compromise, right?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with Race when he said he's still got more juice left in the tank where he's able to win another trophy, especially this season, how well we're doing. I mean, don't get me wrong, if we had the season where we ended up with Klopp, and yes, it was going great until it didn't, until it wasn't, then I can see maybe Salah not wanting to stay. But with maybe what he'd seen from Slot and the talks they must have had and how we can see it going so far, his mind, obviously, like you said, has changed. He has already said he wants to stay. We haven't seen him in bad mood. Like when he comes off the pitch, yes, maybe he wants to stay on a bit more just to prove himself and try to do better. But who wouldn't? Like, you want a player like that in your squad. You want someone that wants to be on the pitch. So, but obviously sometimes they're not performing the best. They need to come off. I think Salah can still do it in him, especially this season, if not another. Especially with the way we're going so far. Like you said, fast player to get 10 goals, 10 assists, and he's still doing really, really well. So you're going to want to mention something?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But no, I was worried going into this season what slot was going to be like, and so far I've been nothing more than impressed. I mean, you can't put down what happened against Forest to Slot's tactics. I think that was more so on the players and being a bit slack from being an international break. Second international break comes along, you think, oh, will the same happen again? Will we slip in form? But no, it's just carried on, been amazing. So I'm hoping that carries on after this international break. Obviously, with the Trent injury, you want him back fit after a couple of weeks, make sure he's better than ever. And just carry on the way we're going, especially when we're leading up to playing against City as well. Yeah, fully fit for them.
I agree. I think the Forest game was possibly the best thing to happen to this team at the time that it happened, in the sense of it actually just reminded them this is something you can't take for granted. You can't just expect to roll over teams. If a good team does come in and stifles the way that we play, you need to work out how to get over that. And you can't have second halves like the way that we did against Forest. Okay, we had and we've seen it since, first halves and where Slot's actually spoken about it recently. But we've turned it around. We've worked teams out and got the win in the end. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I think a lot of it depends on how well we do for the rest of the season. Certainly with Mo, I think Virgil's quite eager to sign as well. Trent, who knows? But that's, we could keep on talking about it for another half an hour and take up the rest of the stream tonight, just talking about contracts. But yeah, let's talk about another player, possibly again in a kind of similar age bracket as Mo, Wataru Endo, and his minutes that he's seeing, very much the opposite. He's not a first team player as such. Certainly not starting 11. Race, what there's been talk about Liverpool being open to accepting a reasonable offer for Endo. I guess there's a couple of questions. First of all, would you be happy with that? And second, do we need someone actually to come in to replace Endo first? Maybe there's a third question actually. Who would be willing to play behind Ryan Gravenberch as well, with the way that he's playing?
Well, I think given the limited minutes that Endo has played this season, I don't think there is a big need for someone to replace Endo. Now I say that, injury happens here or there, and then you're kind of left screwed. So that's maybe a little naive in saying that, but it is clear that Endo is not in Slot's plans, and he never was really meant to be. When he first came in, it was really meant as when he first came in, it was like, oh, who's this guy? This is going to be our number 6. And he came in, he did a damn good job, in his first kind of shift, as a starting player, in our starting 11. And then I think things kind of tailed off at the end of last season. His impact wasn't as big, but he served his purpose. Like, we paid, it was a cheap price for him, and he did his job. And, at the time when we couldn't really commit to a number 6, that's kind of what we went with. And I would say he performed, in relation to his price tag. I think he performed well. So to see him leave out the door, I wouldn't be too, disappointed. I think the obvious replacement to what his role is Tyler Morton. And the question there is he ready to, become a regular, sub or make a spot start here and there? Or if Gravenberch goes down, are you comfortable with throwing him out there and having him play some big games and stuff? I do think that Morton is kind of ready for that next step of his career. Like, he's not a player you're looking to loan out now. You're looking to, okay, let's try to integrate this guy. Let's try to get him some minutes and see him play. I think he did pretty well when he played in the League Cup, weeks back, whenever that was. I don't think he looked out of place there. So I'd be interested to see, himself, you play a little more minutes, when called upon. So yeah, I think that would be the easiest kind of transition there. This type of role isn't really something we'd be looking to replace directly, in January. Say if we sell Endo in that window, I don't think you'd be bringing in a player to replace him. It'd just be, okay, Tyler Morton, now's your time. Here you go to step in. I think if we would sell Endo, it would just be a case of just out of respect for him, like, hey man, you're getting up there in age. We don't really think you're good enough to play in our team that much. And look, he obviously has his weak spots and deficiencies out there on the pitch. You'll never question his work ethic, his work rate, and all that. Like, he is one of the hardest workers out there, but he's just so physically limited. It's just how much can you really risk that when you have the opposite of him, Gravenberch, who's like, top 1% athlete out there, and what he does. He's such a bigger player and just been tremendous this season. So if they ultimately decide to sell Endo, I'd be fine with it. I don't see, there necessarily being such a quick action to, hey, we don't need this guy. Let's just get rid of him. Let's get rid of him. Like, I don't see that happening necessarily in January. Again, injuries happen, then all of a sudden you need him, and then you're going to keep him around. Especially we're going to be in a possible title race and multiple competitions and such. So it doesn't really make sense to sell him in January. I could see that definitely being a move we make next summer. I think that's almost for certain that he'll be sold next summer, if not in January. So, I think whenever Endo leaves, whenever that time comes, it'll be, hats off to him. Thank you for doing the job that you did with us. You perform above our own expectations. I think at one time you looked like such a world beater, and he was just a really incredible player. And you just love to see those types of performances from a guy who's kind of been underappreciated throughout his career. But ultimately, there is a limit on what he can do, and for the overall betterment of Liverpool, I think him, taking a back seat and really being pushed to the end of the bench there, makes a lot of sense. And if you think Tyler Morton really has a future with us, I think if anything, we'll see Tyler Morton make these sub appearances instead of Endo. I think, if there really is a serious conversation about that. So we'll see the signs coming for it. But again, I don't think you necessarily sell him soon. You just kind of fizzle up, slowly fade him out of the club, and then you sell him off in the summer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a few things. Obviously, Patricio Endo Wataru could easily say to the club, actually, I don't mind sticking around for the remainder of this season. I want to be involved in competitions. I'm never going to have this opportunity again in my career. I've never probably had this before. So I want to be involved in a league chase, because there may be opportunities for me to get games later on in the season. There's cup matches as well, League Cup, the League Cup, the FA Cup, and whatnot. So for the player, there's probably no point to move in straight away, unless it's back to Stuttgart, because he knows the situation, he knows the environment and the players, etc. But for him, it makes sense for him to stay, unless the club get a really good offer, and that's the end of that.
Yeah, so I think going into this season, he knew we needed a number 6. This is before we found out how good Gravenberch would be in the role. So he came out saying that, knew we needed a number 6, and was happy, knowing he's fully aware that with his age, he won't be as physically fit as others, although he still put in a good shift last season for us when we needed him. He wasn't. We wanted at the time with the Klopp that physical type destroyer like Fabinho. Obviously, we didn't get that, but we had someone who was read the game really well, was able to intercept the balls when needed, and put in a shift. I think moving forward, he knows he's just going to be a rotation player, if that barely making the squad. I think he knows that going forward, it makes sense for Morton or even by Cecic coming back next season to get minutes. At the time, I didn't really understand Cecic being loaned out. I thought Morton was going to get loaned out and keep Cecic, but maybe it's benefiting him playing in the Bundesliga. Seeing him come back and hopefully getting a better Cecic to then be that understudy to Gravenberch, or just a rotation player if needs be. And I can definitely see that happening, especially with Morton as well coming into the 6 or the 8 role. If we're not going to use Jones there, if Morton is the person if Slot wants to use going forward and sees that as a future like main player, then I would definitely start integrating him now. Especially, we don't want to run Gravenberch into the ground. We still want him to have his great form and stuff, but we don't want to burn him out. And we've seen what Jones could do as a 6, and it doesn't fill me with the most amount of confidence, to be honest. So maybe try Morton there and see how he does if Gravenberch needs some time to rest his legs.
Yeah. Sorry, Patricia. I was just. I keep thinking about David Coot's favourite player, James Milner, and the job that he did for the club. What we have in Joe Gomez is like the quasi James Milner who can play along the back line very, very easily. And what we have in Endo is someone actually can come in and see out games. Someone has put on Zia, thank you for joining. Arsenal home, Man City. I'm not too sure if you mean from last season, but having the ability for someone actually who reads the game really well, puts 110% on the pitch whenever he's on the pitch, comes in and sees out the game. That's quite valuable for a club like Liverpool who are chasing competitions. Another thing that I keep thinking about also is if we had the old style 5 substitutes, yeah, maybe Endo would have been sold. But because we have such a big bench, we can have that little bit of luxury of having that type of player, right? So I think it really comes down to 2 things. Hopefully, maybe you agree with me and people in the chat if you agree as well. First of all, I think it comes down to the player. If the player wants to leave, he'll leave. Unless the club get a really, really good outstanding deal from someone. I know Fulham are meant to be interested now. They lost Paulinho, and even though they're playing really well, who knows? They could be in for Endo. But let's see. Let's kind of just stick with the number 6 very, very quickly. January, guys. Who, if Endo is to leave, who would you want to come in? Grace?
Well, I mean, kind of what I was saying before. Like, it's. I'm not necessarily doesn't need to bring someone else in. Like, yes, you lose a player, you lose a depth piece to your team, but we're not bringing in a big price player, I don't think. And this is just me stalling and saying I don't have anyone in mind, but I just don't think there'd be a move. I think people would probably say, recall by Chadic on loan, but I think that's if he's already loaned out for the season, like why would you, you've already made your plans without him, like you wouldn't, change and bring him back and then not. Unless you're in like some injury crisis and you bring him back, but that's obviously not the case at the moment. So, again, I just don't think. I think the plan would be just to play Tyler Morton more, just have him be that reserve number 6. Of course, you have Gravenberch. McAllister can also play that role as well. And again, in this slot system, it's not necessarily like a nailed on number 6, kind of a fluid. It's a little more 4-2-3-1 formation. So. It's not like the 4-3-3 where it's just one type of player. And McAllister, plays well with Gravenberch in that midfield. So it's kind of a little bit of a back and forth type thing. So I think we would be fine, not bringing someone in, in that position. I think, it's just not a role that I think they would address necessarily right away in January. Then you would go back in the summer and look at that. And of course, you'd obviously have Chadic coming back, and then there's your kind of your midfielders there. Mm-hmm. And that'd be kind of your solution. So I don't see a pressing need to bring someone in January if Endo would leave.
Patricio, Zubimendi, would you still be interested in such a player? We were heavily linked. Essentially, the deal was done, but cold feet, a excellent mountains-based PowerPoint convinced him to remain at Real Sociedad. What do you think? Seeing that, kind of similar to what we're talking about with Mo. Zubimendi could have actually waited to see what actually this Liverpool team's all about, and now he's seen that we're the real deal. Could his head be turned, and would you be accepting a player that essentially rejected us?
Yeah, I mean, had we gone into the season, I mean, I know I'm talking about the past, but had we gone to the season not knowing what Gravenberch would be like, and let's just hypothetically say he wasn't in the form he was in, and we didn't get rejected, and if we just went in for him in January, then I'd say yes, he'd be an amazing player to go for. Right, maybe the perfect player for Slot's team. Seeing as he rejected us because of the cold feet, and he missed the paella, he had to stay behind. He missed the mountains. You know,
San Sebastian.
Yeah, that kind of mindset makes me think at the time. Yes, there's a lot to want to play for your home team. I wanted to stay there and stuff and keep doing well with them, but to see the good season we're having already, and then the starts of their season as well, they didn't go off so well. I mean, I don't know how Real Sociedad are doing right now, but I know that at the start they weren't doing amazingly. I mean, I don't know if I'd want to revisit him, as the mindset, you don't know if he's just always thinking about home or if he's, wanting to compete and challenge for things and wanting to win trophies. If he has that mentality. A player that does come to mind is someone like Edison for Atalanta. We saw how well he played for them last season, especially through Europa League. So maybe he could be a name that's put in there. I know that we were linked quite heavily with Alan Varela as well. I thought he was a potential good player. I know that obviously we didn't sign, or we weren't even linked to Wifer, Matt's Wifer. Obviously he's gone to Brighton. Yeah, it's Brighton. I had to think about it for a moment, but yeah. And to be honest, there's other players like Wharton as well. And I haven't really heard much about him since obviously we were linked at the time. And he is quite expensive, especially what Palace will want from him as well. So I think going in for maybe someone like an Edison. But problem is now you've got the problem of what Race was saying, how you have Morton there. He is available, and you don't want to hinder the youth players coming through as well. So based off how well Gravenberch is doing, maybe we don't look at the 6 now. Maybe it might have been a priority last season, but now that we know how Gravenberch is doing, maybe we look at to like a left back into Ain't Nouri. So that's my views on it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna throw a name out. Angelo Stiller. He plays for Stuttgart. He's come on really, really well. Maybe there's an opportunity there for Endo to go back to Stuttgart and again go back into a similar situation, and the player comes over to us. We would. I think he plays really, really well. I think he's someone actually could do some really good things for Liverpool in the future. Maybe not quite now, but yeah, let's see. We've just got. Let me just change the format, and we've got Tosin. How are you, Tosin?
Tosin.
Yes, sorry guys. I just finally got the power on back again after fighting for almost 2 hours.
Oh, mate. Well, we're glad that you're here. And I love the enthusiasm to come back to us. You could have easily just stayed away, but yeah, I love that you want to come and talk about Liverpool. We were just talking about. I'm going to put you straight into it there, Tosin, if you don't mind.
No problem.
We were just getting a little bit feedback.
Oh, let me.
Yeah.
Tossing with a fresh trim as well. I like it.
Yeah.
Give me 2 minutes. Let me quickly connect my computer, then I'll get it.
Okay. Right. Sorry. Okay. Let's try that again. So I was going to ask Tosin about a number 6, but yeah, let's kind of move on. We've got about 20 odd minutes. There's been another article that's come out. An interesting one. So maybe not playing at the top of the league, but Ben Doak has been in the news today with some excellent figures. He's tearing it over, but the stat that came out today that Only Vinicius Jr. With 44 and Bradley Barcola with 40 have had more carries into the penalty area than Ben Doak. Ben Doak's achieved 39 movements, carries so far this season, and he's only played 10 games. How impressive is that, Patricia?
Yeah, no, he's been doing really well. I mean, you can see the kind of player he was a couple of seasons ago, especially last season when we used him, when we had the youth playing through for the cup. I mean, the only thing that's plagued him at the moment is the injuries. But other than that, you can see the player he is. He's quick on the ball, very technical, very good with the ball at his feet, and isn't afraid to take players on and find his way into the penalty box, as proven there by the stats. So, yeah, no, I think he's a cracking player. Just hopefully the injuries don't plague him anymore, and he can sort of push through, because you can see we've got a cracking player there.
Yeah. I think it's one of those, isn't it? I think very, very similar to another player that I'm really, really excited to see his future and whether it actually involves Liverpool is actually Lewis Kumas. Similar type players in the sense of they're very, very young. They're already playing first team football, men's proper football, out in the championship. But Race, what are your thoughts about how well Ben Doak is playing, and also Lewis Kumas? I'll come back to you, Patricia, about Kumas as well. So just have a think about that. But Race, what do you think?
Well, it's good that as a young player getting that regular game time, and it's just to be a professional week in, week out. I think there's so much value in that, especially for a younger player. He's still only 19 years old. He's such a
he was 19 yesterday, so that's So he's really, really young, playing man's game.
Yeah, I see it now. His birthday there, November 11th. That's cool. It's good to see. Carries into the box. I mean, that's a good thing to see. Not to discredit it, but it is the championship and it is a lesser league. But again, you can't. You want to see some development. You want to see him improve. That's just what we want to see, improvement from a young player. Like I said, just turned 19, and so I think it's still a ways away, especially given our attacking options of Doak really having a big impact with us. I think he's now getting into that cycle of going out on loan and then maybe another loan next season, and you just kind of hope to see more and more progression out of his game, as the years goes on, and because he's fantastic, physical attributes. He's very quick, and he's not scared to take players on, and it's a tremendous thing to have as a young player. And so there's definitely a player in there. As we all know from wingers, it's all about can he get some goal, the goals and assists up? That's what you want to see. You don't want to, because there's tons of players in the world that can take players on, are good with the ball and all of that, but it's that end product that sometimes really truly separates. And so I think it's too early to ask Ben Doak of that right now. Like, hey, where's the goals and assists? Like, hey, it's okay. Just find your footing. The goals and assists will come if you keep doing the work. So just keep doing that. And, he's still a highly rated, player by us. And, as in lucky for him, he's we've got a new manager who's, can implement his own style, and Doak doesn't have to, worry about, he's kind of having a fresh start as well. So, he can come back, next summer and reevaluate and whatnot. And so it's good to see Doak, having these moments here, and hopefully get a few more goals and assists to his tally, I would say.
I think the underlying statistical data there, Patricio, kind of dictates that we've got a good player that can get into positions that is afraid to take on his man. Maybe, just looking at the end product, maybe it's not quite there, but in his last 2 games in the league, his last game against Luton, who were playing Premier League football last year, Middlesbrough won 5-1, and he set up two goals. And then the game before that, QPR again, away to QPR, he set up 1 goal in a 4-1 win. So it looks like the team's in a good position, as well as the player himself. He's definitely found his footing. having played 89 minutes, 81 minutes. He's playing a lot of minutes for someone so young. So the benefit is, okay, if it's not a case that he plays for Liverpool, at least we're getting a player that would command a really good fee.
Yeah, no, you can see the abilities there for him. He just needs to, like Ray said, and like you said there, just needs to get that end product up. But to be fair, when you see him in the box, it's just a little bit of decision making as well. Just getting that, as soon as he gets more experience in football, you'll see it develop, and that football IQ will just you'll know what to do and when to do it, when to make that pass, when to go for goal. And if I'm not wrong, I think he's right-footed, isn't he? So
Yeah.
I think just like, I know he likes to cut in as well, but he's very good at taking the player out wide and pacing around them. He just needs to focus at maybe driving towards goal, maybe cutting inside of it, and that'll sort of help his game. I mean, maybe playing in the slot, whether he's back in the season or he gets loaned out again, we'll see how he develops. And by that point, maybe we can start to integrate him more, especially if Salah's going out and whoever we have at the time, if Chiesa's still here or whatever's happening there, we can then start to integrate Doak into the team. So now we definitely have a special player on our hands.
Yeah, I agree. So, Tosin, thanks for joining us back. So we just talked about Ben Doak and the stat that came out today that only two players in European football, Vinicius Jnr. and Bradley Barcola, had more carries into the penalty area than Ben Doak. So the data, the youth that he has on his side, what do you think? Do you think he's a player that excites you, can reach the very top, or someone? What Patricio was saying, maybe it's a case of we'll get him back in the summer, evaluate, get him a Premier League loan move, and see how he fares there. Is that the best way to do it with a player like Ben Doak, Luis Kumas, and players of that ilk?
Yes, 100%. I agree with Patricio on that. I think he's at a stage where we've got to assess him. I think it was earlier on the season during the transfer window, I was still saying that maybe we possibly evaluate and see whether he fits into the club side. But he was talking about wanting a lot of game time, and the only way he's going to develop is if he gets games, and he's not going to get games because Mohamed Salah plays for us, and Luis Diaz plays for us, and Cody Gakpo plays for us, and Diogo Jota plays for us, and Federico Chiesa plays for us. So where is he going to play? Avi Elliott plays for us too. So so it's bad news for the young lad. So I think it would be nice he goes out, gets a bit of experience. I'm not particularly keen on him getting Premier League experience. I think he should get top level experience of playing week in, week out. You saw with Avi didn't have to get Premier League experience, but he came back and, my word, look at what he's been in his development over the recent years. So, I mean, for me, I don't necessarily think so. There are some players you think, okay, they'll go and get first division experience or, Premier League experience, and they don't come off the way you'd expect them to, because there's levels to this thing. I sort of think maybe if he comes back after his loan spell and we think he's somewhat... I've particularly had reservations with the way we've treated Tyler Morton since he's back. I've thought perhaps should have played him a bit more, especially in the Cups. So he's featured a bit in the EFL Cup, came off the bench in the first game, started in the second game. I think we should have a bit more of that since we didn't allow him go. We see what Luis Kumas is doing at Stoke as well. Come, let this guy finish the season. Let's see the trajectory. It's not just about carrying the ball into the box, I was in Dakar 2 weeks ago and I was talking to a couple of scouts in terms of what they needed when they were assessing players. And as much as they were excited about penalty box entries, it was about what does he do when he gets into the penalty box? Is he going to take a shot? Is he going to take a pass? Is he going to hesitate? You look at some players from some of the other clubs, say, for example, Jeremy Doku, Gabriel Martinelli. Is that who we think he is? or is he a Mohamed Salah? So, we've got to evaluate those things over the next 6 months. If he shows himself to have traits of a Mohamed Salah or a Federico Chiesa when he is fit, obviously we then have to start thinking of how to integrate him into the first team. But if he shows the signs in the other direction that he is maybe a Doku who likes to dribble a lot and there's no end product, even though he gets into the box and he's a danger, you obviously also, it means that he's not a starter. You probably have to start thinking about him as a squad player, because we have to assess whether he's a rotation player or he's a squad player. Where does he fit in, in the ranking of players? I believe Slot is going to make the right decision. And, it's going to be very difficult for him as well, because we don't know what happens. If Salah stays, I would say, okay, let's keep him for the season. If Salah, so that he can understudy more. If Salah goes, it makes it a bit more complicated.
Yeah, no. We'd have to find or hope that there's someone already at the club, Chiesa, that could actually hold out for a whole season. Yeah, I totally agree. I love the words there, Tosin. So I did have a thought about Ben Doak and the best way to play it. But Race, I guess it's just like what Tosin was saying. There's no point kind of getting wrapped up in terms of the stats as of yet. All we can do is hope that the player kind of develops and flourishes. Someone, Paul, you've just mentioned there in the comments, Harry Wilson, Solanke. He believes that he would do numbers in the Prem, and he thinks that Doak could make that move away, if it make that same kind of impact on the Premier League if they were to move away from Liverpool. If we think about the player wants to play week in, week out. He doesn't want to be sticking around with Liverpool, being a number 2, number 3, if at best, right? So as a player, you'd probably say, right, give me another move to a lower end Premier League team next summer.
Yeah, I think, for, the Premier League clubs at the top end like us and the other kind of big 6 teams, like, these young players are great to come through your system, but especially with Doak, being an attacker, being a winger, like how much patience do you have to allow them to develop and really, become a top end player? And, because like there's urgency with us. Like we don't want to, we need a player that's going to get in there and score goals right away. That's honestly what we're looking for. Let's be real. And so like the examples of Harry Wilson and Solanke coming up, like Solanke, went to Bournemouth and then, got better. And now he's back at a big club, in Tottenham. And, they kind of took him a while to kind of find his footing. Harry Wilson, I thought he was a tremendous player as well, but just wasn't at the quality that we needed him to be at, when we needed him. And then we sold him off. And now I think he's playing really well with Fulham. He's made himself, a regular starter with them at least. So, with Doak, like, these young players, like sometimes, it's maybe easier for a defender or midfielder to come up through because there's just not as much, look, scoring goals is obviously harder than defending, so like that's, just the nature of the game. So it's kind of easier for a player to come up on that end of the pitch than rather the, in front of goal or, trying to score goals. So I think that's, it's just harder for a player, really a young player to kind of break through, into the team. And so with Doak, you see the talent, you see the potential that he has, but again, that end product, eventually that's what we're going to need. That's what we're going to be looking for when we ultimately decide to, make a decision on his future with us. Whether we bring him back and we give him like one season, like, hey, this is your season to break through with us. And if you can, great. If not, then, well, it's, we might be looking elsewhere. We're going to look to sign a player that's can for sure score goals for us and put our faith in him. So it's just harder for, I think, an attacking player, especially at a top end club to break through unless you're just not an absolute world beater and just scoring week in and week out. So like with Harvey Elliott, I think he had 7 goals and 11 assists in his loan spell in the championship, which is which is pretty good. And so we brought him in and he's clearly, he's not necessarily a forward winger. He's played winger, but you saw that goal scoring output, and then we were able to bring him back in, and he was able to produce. So it's kind of every youth prospect is different, and so Doak again is just so young, and you just kind of wonder what type of player he'll turn out to be, and if we'll have the patience to see him live his full potential at Liverpool. Which who knows? I think that's hard to predict, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about all the names that we've had over the years. Harry Milson, then we've had Solanke, Ben Doak, Luis Kumas, Fabio Carvalho. There's another one. I'm sure there's a few more youngsters who've essentially said they want to play first team football. They believe they're good enough, but the patience there, Patricio, it's not a case that we're impatient with your youth players, but I think it's just a gap in between, youth football, under 23s, going on into first team football, playing week in, week out. It's such a massive, massive divide that you can't really expect young players. Okay, we saw it last year with Quanta, but he suddenly dropped off a little bit this season when things, maybe it's just caught up with him, the pace of the game. But I'm not sure what the question is, but the point being is it's difficult for youth players to break it into a Liverpool team. All we can do is, I guess, I don't know if you agree, is give them the education to allow them to have a football career.
Yeah, no, I fully agree, and especially with a point that Ray's made is that because we are a top 6 side, it will be difficult to get youth players in, because although you want to give them the minutes, you want to make sure that they are playing as much as they can do. It's difficult, and you try to put them in the EFL Cup, so they're getting some minutes there. But when you're competing for the top, it's a bit difficult. Like, yes, you bring in Kwanzaa, but then do you bring in Morton when Gravenberch is performing well? And it's things like that. It's got to weigh it up as well. I know Slot. Well, I believe Slot takes a lot in youth players. He wants to develop them, but there's only so much you can do. Whereas if we were a club like a Fulham or like a Brighton who's willing to give these youngsters a chance and then let them break through and figure out how good they are, like a Dringer, that's the one. He's doing for Brighton.
Yeah. For Brighton, yeah.
Yeah, you can see the kind of player he is. He's breaking through the squad. He's doing well for them. I think although we have got youth players that can do well for us, there's a massive margin between getting through as a youth player and then making it big and making the impacts needed, like Joe Gomez, Trent, and Kwanzaa as well, making those impacts. Although we haven't seen the form from Kwanzaa this season, I know I've in my head that when he comes on the pitch, we'll get the best out of him. He does try his hardest, and to be fair, he has got to learn from Van Dijk and from Konate as well. And he's had that. He's going to gain that experience. I mean, he's only 20, 21 maybe. I'm not even sure.
Yeah,
how old he is, but he will gain that confidence, that experience. I mean, we have plenty of time. And just to speak on one person that obviously didn't succeed at Liverpool, Sepp Vandenberg. He obviously went off to Brentford. Felt that he didn't get the treat correctly by Liverpool and didn't have the time given to him, which I think it was difficult for him having Van Dijk and Konate and Matip ahead of him. It would have been difficult to integrate him anyway, especially with Gomez there as well, who is so versatile. So yeah, it's just that massive gap, and it will be difficult. Had we have not been competing for the top 4, maybe for the title, maybe I'd see more use of youngsters being integrated, and that's what I'm hoping more from Morton being integrated and by Cecic. And I reckon we will see more of Kwanzaa. He just needs to prove to Slot that he's got the ability in him, which we know he has.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna end with you, Tosin. We've come towards the end of the stream. Again, I just want to say thank you for everyone that's joined us on chat. We have some really, really good conversation there. So Hit those likes, hit those subscribes, leave a comment, tell us about what you think about the conversation that we've had. It's been an interesting one, though it's been like a slow news day. We've spoken about some kind of deeper level stuff in regards to how the model of the club compared to others doesn't really allow kind of youth team football. But Tosin, I guess the question's there: should Liverpool change their model very quickly to allow youth team players to come in, or do we just keep on doing what we're doing and give the players education and make careers later on or in other clubs?
There's no need to change the model. I think the model is perfect as is. We're not Barcelona. We're not, and surely I also
But a point about Barcelona, just very, very quickly, because you've spoken about, they involve their youth team players far too much, and look at their youth players. The amount of injuries that they get is unbelievable. They're lucky that they've got Lamine Yamal and the way he's playing. But you look at the other players that they've got, they injuries left, right, and centre.
Gavi,
Pedri.
early. Yeah,
exactly.
I agree 100% with you guys. And that's why I said we're not Barcelona. I like the model Liverpool operate. If you're a phenomenal young talent, you got to show that you want it and you got to play like it. Just look at the academy players who've come through Liverpool Football Club and look at the level they played at even when they leave the football club. I mean the ones who became a first team member and played at consistently high levels. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Steven Gerrard, Macha, even to a degree, the Ballon d'Or winner who became the prodigal son and now bats for the other team in Manchester. So you look at the fact that when you come through Liverpool Football Club Academy, you are you are a talent that is very hard to look past, especially if you're exceptional. I don't think there are maybe 4 players who left the Liverpool Academy to go and play elsewhere, and there was a regret. And I'm not saying this because I just think if you're a high quality talent, there is a filtering system we have at the academy that the scouts look at, whatever it is, big data, whatever the software is they use, and they say, you know what, we're going to keep that one, and then we're going to phase out. We probably would have to find solutions for the other ones who are in the team. So you look at our goalkeepers at this point in time, with the work John Ashtonberg and co have done. How is it possible that a football club has 4 top quality goalkeepers and we have to go and sign another one? It is, I told one of my friends some weeks ago, I said, we're literally stealing under the noses of these people. We've perfected the art of goalkeeping. You look at the players who produced in defense in recent years, and people are going to disagree, and it's okay. And I'm not going to say too much about it. I know that Joe Gomez came through Charlton before we signed him, but he sort of had a bit of time developing. Maybe because we also signed elite talent, and so there was a comparative analysis where you could look at the elite players that we've signed, and then there's film to show to the young guys to say, this is how we want you to defend. Look at Joe Gomez and the cameos he's made at centre-back this season. And people might talk about how Jarrell has dropped off a bit in recent times. I also think it's because he's played so many games, even though people will tell you, oh, he's over 20, yes, but regardless, there is a process to these things. So you look at the way we've done in terms of the talent. If you're an exceptional talent, you're going to play for Liverpool Football Club if you come through the academy. And that's the reason why those who are talking about the Rio Ngumoha debacle, it's the same thing. You look at Dominic Solanke as well, who right now has gone to Tottenham. I mean, and if we're selling you for top dollar. We're not selling you a chump change. If the club thinks that, okay, we don't see a pathway to the first team for you here, even though we know you're good, we sell you for top dollar. And people are like, oh, we've stolen, we robbed them because we sold them for big money. I mean, till today, I still think we robbed Sheffield United because 24.5 million for Ryan Brewster, who's not played very well for them. Come on now. But we did a good job. So I think for me, in terms of, it's a very, very fine line in how we've been able to operate. I like the current model as it is. Keep it that way. If we get an exceptional talent that's coming through the ranks, obviously you clear that pathway for him, ease him into the first team, and don't do what Barcelona are doing by cooking these players, and then they end up getting injured. And it's the same thing for that side on the other half of Manchester. They're doing the same thing now. And when the player starts to dip in terms of the number of miles he's got on his body, you then begin to ask questions. It was one of the reasons why, and I know a lot of people will not like it, I felt if we bought Jude Bellingham, he would not have played the amount of games he's played right now. People are going to disagree, but I believe so 100%. Because I thought under Jurgen and now Slot, they would have found a way to make sure, does he play this game? Does he not play this game? But he's gone to a system where it for the lack of better words, let me borrow the American term, front office malpractice. You overload these kids, give them a lot of minutes. By the time they're 24, they're useless. There's absolutely nothing you're able to get out of them. And then when they're supposed to be in their prime, they're already on the decline. I'm perfectly okay with the way we're operating, even with some of the players we bought at a young age. And the fact that now we sort of subtly do it, but we don't do it in terms of, if you're not 24 and under, we are not going to pay top dollar for you, because we know that what value you're going to give us in the long run, and we also consider maybe your sellability in the grand scheme of things. If you're older than 24, 25, we're looking to get you on a chip as well, and whether you can improve the first team. So, I mean, for all of us who have lived through the dark years of what happened between 2009 and 2015, those 6 years, we've got to be grateful for what we have now.
I love it. I think it's brilliant. What a way to finish this this stream. Tosin, I'm so glad that you came tonight. Yeah, we're gonna finish it there. Brilliant conversation, Race. I'm really thankful for you joining today. Patricia, what a brilliant kind of introduction to each other. Absolutely love tonight's kind of conversation. I thought it was going to be a bit of a struggle, but actually we're 1 hour and 7 minutes into it, and we probably could keep on going, especially with our man Tosin on fire tonight. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for everyone joining me today. Brilliant comments in the chat today. Hit those likes, hit those subscribes, leave a comment on anything that we've discussed today. There is another stream. Patricia, you did remind me it is Tuesday. So what that means is there's going to be another stream on tonight. So that's 2 a.m. UK time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're up and about, or if you're working in the US, have a listen. The guys will definitely appreciate this. There's going to be more talk about contracts and whatnot tonight, and then we are back every night 7:30 ish. So yeah, come join us. We'll keep it going. Keep you going through these international breaks. So just want to say thank you, much love, and good night.